everyone, welcome back to another Beyblade Burst Rise HYPERSPHERE unboxing, and today we've got ourselves a double pack to have a look at. And inside we're going to get the left aSTRO A5 and a race DEVOLOS D5, the other halves of two bays, which I've unboxed previously on my channel, so I'm pretty psyched to check these out. And we'll take a quick moment to admire that nice graphic they've got on the front here. And let's go over to the back now to our parts listing. So starting off with a race DEVOLOS and our chip, which is a left spinning chip. And below we've got our energy layer. So it is a bounce type of energy layer. And then our forge disc. So we get D75, or the HYPERSPHERE version of Vanguard, as we did previously with the Venom DEVOLOS. And then our performance tip, we've got TH18, and unlike Venom DEVOLOS, this is a different version of that HYPERSPHERE bullet, so it's going to be called Bullet 2. And then over to left aSTROs, which as it says in the name there, it is a left spinning bay with a defensive type of energy layer. And then we've got our forge disc, so D69, or the HYPERSPHERE version of Blitz, which we have seen before. And then its performance tip is TH04, or the HYPERSPHERE version of Spiral, which we also have seen previously with Zone Lunar. And then down to our performance stats here, and they are exactly the same as each other. So we've got 2 for runtime and 4 for drop-in rate. And that is it for the packaging. So let's get him open up and have a closer look at all those parts. Well, that's everything out of the packaging, and let's start this off with a race DEVOLOS and his energy layer. Here it is, a race DEVOLOS, and we get this nice white and red paint to the energy layer. Goes really well with that golden red on the chip, and it says it's a bounce type of energy layer, but it does have very much a attack sort of style to it, and you can see that with these very sharp angles that you get on these wings, and then running down those are these sharp teeth, so that's going to give us an uppercut effect to its impacts, and those will increase with those teeth there as well. But in saying all that, has a very round shape to it, and with the amount of wings that we do get, that bay is not going to get into those gaps as much as you would think. So that's probably is bringing it back to more of a bounce type rather than being an attack type. And then let's have a look at the chip now. So for that, we now get a left spinning chip. And with that direction change, we'll get a slight color change as well. I'm just going to grab the Venom DEVOLOS here to show you what I mean. And in the center here, we got a pastel blue instead of that metallic color. And then a little bit of extra gold here on the end. And they just haven't separated that eye out as much as they did with Venom's. The other probably little less noticeable change is they've just shifted this gap around a bit, so instead of being on that angle, it's now on this one. So yeah, some little interesting differences there. I'm going to flip it over, give you a moment to grab the QR code. There you go, and I'll piece him back together, and we'll do a quick comparison with the Takiratomi version. Well, here they are, side by side. Hasbro's Erase DEVOLOS and Takiratomi's Erase DEVOLOS. And let's have a look at our differences. So color-wise, there's pretty much none on the layers there. You'd probably get them mixed up with each other, actually, if it weren't for those screws and the way they secure their chip in on the TT version. And design-wise, no difference as well. And then onto those chips, so Hasbro tend to leave it plain where the stickers would be, and you can see that in those spots either side here and then towards the center there. And then the major difference is the exclusion of metal from Hasbro, as always with these Rise bays. So the Takara Tomy one, anywhere you see color on the chip, is actually made out of metal, and their weight system is attached. And then the Hasbro one, it's just all plastic, and that weight system is part of the molding. And that's it for our energy layer. Let's move on to that forge disc. So just like Venom DEVOLOS, we get the HYPERSPHERE Vanguard, and I'm not going to go over the difference between this and the Takara Tomy one in this upload. I covered that thoroughly in my unboxing of Venom DEVOLOS, and I'll leave a link to that at the end sequence of this clip if you want to check it out. So it's a defense type of forge disc. It's moderately weighted, it's well balanced, and you can attach a frame. So yeah, let's move over to our performance tip. Our performance tip is HYPERSPHERE's Bullet 2, which is a modified version of the previous HYPERSPHERE Bullet performance tip from Venom DEVOLOS, which I'm just going to grab real quick so you can see the changes that they've made. So we've got a larger, smoother tip and a very round shape to the new one. That's going to provide extra grip on our stadium. We've got all these grooves surrounding it as well, which will help out with that. Moving it onto that top edge, probably a bit easier, and with that we might lose a bit of stamina and some life after death, because you don't have that sort of smooth frame surrounding it anymore, so with that angle to it. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it goes anyway. And yeah, let's piece our bay together and have a feel of those slopes. Here we go. And left spinning, geez, I do that often with these left spinners. Yeah, and well, I think no, I need a little bit of resistance there to initially get it on, and oh, nice angle, but nice angle to the slopes that move down them pretty smoothly. But you can see if I try and move it back along them, it wants to force itself in the opposite direction. So good angle to those slopes, not the strongest of grip, but still pretty decent. And let's move on to our second bay for this unboxing, left aSTRO. Starting off with that energy layer and chip of left aSTRO, and I say chip because it does have one. The reason for that being that this is one of the only bays in the Rise series so far where we actually get a gimmick. The other one being its counterpart, Right Artemis. So before we get into that gimmick, I'll quickly discuss design here. So that's a defensive bay, and for that reason we've got some deflective angles here, and underneath there's some nice steep slopes on those. And then I've got these star type points surrounding the bay, so we've got a few of those which will prevent your opponent from getting into that gap too much, and they don't stick out too far as to go into the attack side of things. And then we'll just quickly compare with the Takara Tomy one, which I've got here. And our differences are going to be color, obviously, because I don't have the original Takara Tomy version that came with the stadium. It's quite expensive to get hold of, so I've just got the random booster one to go off. But we're pretty similar anyway with coloring. Got that pastel blue with Hasbro, and that metallic one with Takiratomi. And then the major difference is the exclusion of metal, as always with these Rise bays. So anywhere where you're seeing the silver here on Hasbro is where we're supposed to have metal. So that's it for a bit of a comparison there, other than, you know, having the slopes and the teeth on the TT one. And then back to our gimmick now. And to demonstrate this gimmick, you're going to need your ripcord from your launcher, and on the end of it here we've got a rectangular bit of plastic, and I'll flip the layer over, and I'm going to give you a quick moment to grab that QR code while I'm here. And then on that chip we've got an L printed either side of it, and that just lets us know it's a left spinning chip. You're going to insert that bit of plastic in there, and it locks into place, and turn towards your lettering, and there we are. That frees up that chip from the center, and then you can now grab your energy layer and pull up with one hand and down with the other, and it splits in half, and that's its gimmick. And the whole point of that is to have purchased your right Artemis. That comes in another double pack, and you can free his chip up from the center like I just showed, and swap them between each other. So now your left aSTRO becomes a right spinner, and same with Artemis, you can make him a left spinner. And then comes the really awesome bit: split both your layers in half, and then you can join them together, giving you a combined version of both bays and Hasbro. With Hasbro, not Takiratomi. You can do that with all your parts, giving you two combined versions of those energy layers, and you're now able to interchange that chip between both of them, making these extremely customizable and such an awesome purchase. And you really can't purchase one without the other, because you just miss out on being able to do that. And that's it for our layer. I'm going to put him back together real quick. Just join all the right bits back together, and you want to turn away from the lettering now to lock it back into place. And there we are. And let's move on to that forge disc. That forge disc is Blitz, and I've already gone over this forge disc in a previous unboxing of Sword Valtrek, so I'm not going to go into detail with it. I'll just, as I'm doing with Venom DEVOLOS, put a link up in the end sequence of this clip. So if you want to find out a little bit more about it, you can just click on that if you wish. And let's move on to that performance tip. For that, we've got the HYPERSPHERE version of Spiral, and I haven't previously unboxed a Zone Lunar, so I'm going to quickly go over the details on this performance tip. I do have my Takiratomi one here, so we do a quick comparison design wise. So the TT one has this sort of spiraling pattern running down it, which you can see a little bit here on the HYPERSPHERE one, which will provide a bit of grip on the stadium, possibly moving it up onto the top a bit more easy. And then the tip itself has that bit of a star pattern, which you can see repeated here on the Hasbro one, but it's just basically printed in there. I don't know how much of a difference it's going to make to performance. Then the tip itself is rather large and a little bit rounded. It does have a bit of roughness to it, so that's going to provide some grip with that. Yeah, other than that, there's not much else in the similarity department between the two, so I'll just move him out of the way. And then we've got this little pattern on the inside here, which basically is not going to do anything. I think that's just there for show, really. Make a little bit of life after death, because got a bit of curve to that edging. but that's yet to be seen. That's just speculation. And that's it for our performance tip. Let's piece this guy together and have a feel those slopes. So let's get all these parts together, and let's start off on the right end this time. And here we go. And geez, well, pretty much no initial resistance there, only the very slightest bit. And then the slopes, we're moving along them really easy actually. It seems like there's a slight angle to them, so not the biggest though, nowhere near what DEVOLOS had. So put that on probably the below average for slopes, but you know, we'll see how it goes in a battle. Slopes always don't determine performance or burst strength. Comes down to quite a few different factors. Alright, well, let's get that stadium out for a test launch. Alright, we've got the stadium out. We'll launch erase DEVOLOS first, and 3, 2, 1, let's rip. And a nice bit of movement there to start with, and well, enough to get itself out of that lower portion of the stadium as well. And now we're settling back down and spinning nicely. It's starting to slow down a bit, so you can see why it's got that low runtime rating on the back of the packaging. So yeah, that's it for our erase DEVOLOS. Now let's get a left aSTRO in the stadium. Alright, here we go. 3, 2, 1, let's rip. And nice movement there to begin with. So just like our erase DEVOLOS, and able to fling itself out of that bottom section, and we're settled down and we're starting to slow down, so that bodes well for that rating being exactly the same as erase. And that's it for this unboxing. I hope it didn't run too long. There was a bit to cover in it. And until next time, enjoy the rest of your day.